welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional with a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, we are going to discuss the Supreme Court, particularly the latest dramatic case. That they're having to take up. Of course, it's dramatic because Trump is at the center of it. So there's always going to be drama where he's involved. What we're going to do is discuss what they're going to do in taking up this case is to determine whether or not a president has immunity from criminal charges. In other words, of course, this comes out of the Trump January 6th involvement with the insurrection. And we're going to discuss, will the Supreme Court also hear a case of whether IVF should be banned, as an Alabama Supreme Court would like? You know, that controversy in Alabama, we've got a lot of mothers and parents very much concerned about their ability to have children, now that the Alabama Supreme Court has decided that embryos are children. So a lot to discuss. And now I have to tell you guys something very interesting. I do not see some of my guests here tonight that are supposed to be on. I don't know what happened, but I do have my faithful friend all the way from Portland, Oregon, Mary Rarick here. I am not quite sure what happened to Narissa. And I know that Renee, listen, I'll tell you all, Renee Schalk is a mother with a 6-year-old triplets. And so she told me, she said, I've got to make sure that I wear them out. She said, Pam, but I'm going to be on. So I said, if you're a little bit late, it's okay. But I'm surprised that Narissa, our attorney, isn't here because she was, we had a debate before we even started the show. So anyways, but Mary, let me introduce you because I was actually going to introduce you last but not least. So let me introduce you, Mary. You are my great political friend from out west. You're known as the caffeine addicted super connector, and that you are a super connector. You're a Sorkin enthusiast and a communications consultant. You are a grassroots political activist, that you are. And you are the host and producer of You Can't Beat Blue podcast. You have been volunteering for the organization Run for Something very actively. Mary lives in Portland, Oregon with her husband and rescue cats. Welcome back to the show, Mary.
Thank you so much, Miss Pam. It is a pleasure to be here as always.
Yes. I am enthusiastic about you being with us tonight. Let's see here. The chat is busy already. Let's see. Okay. I see Terry. Okay. Terry just said yes. Alicia. Hello, Alicia. Hello, Ruth. Oh, wow, Ruth. Okay. Ruth, I may have to let you come up on here so you can join. Yeah, Terry, I think I will. Ruth, do you see the link in the chat? Do you see the link in the chat, Ruth? Shoot. Let me see. It's so much going. Listen, this is a lot going on.
You're an air traffic controller today, aren't you?
Air traffic controller. Okay, send me the link. Ruth, I'm going to put the link in the chat and you'll see it. Hold on. I had it in the chat already, but I'll put it in here again. Okay. Okay, it's going in there. You see it, Ruth? Okay. But in the meantime, let me get back to what I'm all discombobulated here on my schedule here that I have. But I know how you feel, Mary, and how my other guests feel when they get here about January 6th, the insurrection. And maybe we need to remind the audience a little bit about what happened exactly on that day and exactly what Trump said and why we might be in our feelings a little bit about this whole thing. There is Ruth. Ruth, I'm going to pull you up on stage. There you are. Hey, you got your volume on? Oh, you're muted. Say hello. I don't hear you. It says you're muted, I think. Uh-oh. Oh no. Yeah, you're unmuted now. It's turn up the volume on your computer. Very low. It's still very low. Guys, you can tell this is a live show, okay? I can't hear you. Can you hear her, Mary?
I can't.
I can't hear you. Shucks.
Maybe go out and come back in. Check your settings.
Yeah.
Because we want to hear what you have to say.
That's right. When she comes back, we'll pull her back up. But in the meantime, I am going to share the screen so that we can remind everyone of what Trump said on that fateful day, January 6th.
All right. Buckle up.
Buckle up for sure. For sure.
It's
Okay.
traumatic.
I know. Okay.
This egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol. And we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
Okay.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube.
Okay, so that's that. So he said what he said, and Ruth is back. Hi, Ruth. Okay, turn up the volume. We can hear you, but you got to get that volume up. Really? Oh, you got to be kidding. Oh.
Do you have ear pods?
Yeah, hold on. Hey, Renee, can you sign on? Okay, are you on are you on Chrome or Firefox? Okay, it should let you come on.
It's not. I'm saying your backstage devices are not connected. I've never had this problem before. I don't know what's going on. Maybe if you could send me a different link.
Okay, the links are all the same. Can you look hold on. Let me try to send you the link again, okay? All right. Bye-bye. I tell you, this is
We'll get there.
for the record books, folks. Oh
Do you
my
know, can
goodness.
I show them my shirt while you're doing that?
Yes, please do a show and tell,
Look
please.
at this. Okay. Do you see what it says? It's
What does
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It says dissent.
I see? Oh God, you know, she literally worked to her death. And some people were really upset about her, you know, about what she did and everything. You know, some people, listen, guys, I'm trying to send Renee the link again. Hold on, just keep talking to the people.
We'll chat amongst ourselves, right? Y'all just heard what Trump said. I mean, you could talk about that in the chat too. I mean, were you there? Were you listening when he said that? I tell you what, it sounded like a dog whistle to me. It was
a dog whistle.
It was plain as day what he was saying, and he was going to walk down there too.
Yeah.
Oh, I was terrified. I don't know about the rest of you, but I was terrified.
I stay terrified of that man. Okay.
Same. When people come at us and say we shouldn't talk about him anymore, I say, you know what? We have to talk about him.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh,
because it was. Listen. I know Latrice or Loretta, any of you guys want to come on? I find this very strange that Narissa always comes. Letitia, Latrice, and or Loretta, do you guys want to come on stage? Do you see the link? You might not see the link. Let me see if I can paste this link. I'm gonna paste the link in the chat, and you guys can come up if you want to. Okay, look in the chat. Okay, look for the chat. There it is. There's Ruth again. There's Renee. Let's see. It says her devices aren't connected. Hey.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Woo! Oh, God. Listen. At the rate we're going, we're gonna listen. They will need to connect their mic cam before. Renee, it says you've got to connect your mic and cam. Go to your settings.
Ruth, are you running for office?
Yes, I'm running for U.S. Congress, Texas District 5, against a MAGA Trumper named Lance Gooden. He was very much involved in the insurrection. And when I win, I will be the first woman and first person of color in this seat in history. So please check me out, truthincongress.com. I need all the support I can get. I am unopposed in the primary, so I go straight through to November.
Wonderful.
So a lot of work to get done. Of course, it's a very gerrymandered district, and talking about January 6th, that is the main reason why I chose this seat to go after this seat. I was so upset on January 6th and to see what was happening there. And I'm a woman of faith, and I know the word of God, and it says, hey, those who do evil and those that help them, they fall together. And I said, okay, this guy's gonna fall, then I want that seat. If I can take one down, then that's what we all need to be doing, is let each of us go to take down one and take new territory. So that's what I'm going to do. No, there's no other Democrat that runs for this seat because it's such a gerrymandered district. But I know that if Dallas and Kaufman County get up and vote, we're going to flip this seat. And when we do, we're going to help flip out Ted Cruz, who was very much involved, in January 6th. So, yeah.
Okay. Latrice, I'm going to send it to your email. Okay.
I see you, Alicia. You know what? I'll take all the support I can get. If you're in Texas, if you're anywhere, nearby, you can come on and help with doors. But if not, there's still plenty of work that can be done. I need research. I need somebody to help me do some organizing things online, financial support. You can donate on the website, truthincongress.com. So together, I believe we've already won. We just need to get together and be very focused on the goal.
Okay, hold on, guys. Listen.
Ruth, do you know about Ground Game Texas?
Sounds familiar.
They organize around ballot initiatives.
Okay.
Look them up and let me know if you need an introduction. But it's a great way in Texas to get folks register to vote and organize because they care about issues, and so they identify which issues in which area, and that might actually help you with your organization.
I will accept an invitation. Please do that and do an introduction for me.
Yes.
And I think that, even with, Republicans in Texas, you guys aren't in Texas, but right now, Texas is really going pretty crazy. The Republican Party is ripping itself apart because Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton. So Ken Paxton, our Attorney General, was impeached in the House, was not impeached in the Senate. So both of these guys are very big Trumpers as well. But so there's a lot of chaos going on because Ken Paxton, he fired these whistleblowers for corruption, and so there were people. So he's going after trying to unseat everybody that impeached him in the House, and then Abbott is pushing school vouchers, the privatization of our public ed. He's taken in over $6 million in voucher. So he's had sessions to push through vouchers and is holding teacher pay hostage for that. And so he's trying to unseat everybody that voted against vouchers. So the voucher issue is really big. It is the rural Republicans that have held the line against Abbott, but he's not going to stop. So he's made that clear. You vote against me on the vouchers, I'm going to do my best to unseat you, because he needs to get enough votes for 2025 in the next state session. So I think that is very much an issue that I can get people who may be typically Republican to vote for me on the issue of schools, vouchers alone, because schools are the biggest employer in the rural communities, and the rural communities are not buying this woke, thing, their whole narrative on why we need to privatize public ed. So that is part of the messaging, the targeted messaging that I really want to go ahead and do, for this vote. But I've been hitting doors, and I got to tell you, like, people are not motivated. They're not seeing the clear distinction. There's not the energy that Obama had, and they're not seeing like clarity on the party issues. So we've got to, if we want to engage the young voter, because that's who makes a difference, we're going to need to find a message and candidates that make them excited. So
okay. Well, listen, I've been trying to deal with Renee. She says she can hear us and see us, but she can't get back on. Latrice, what's happening is that it says her devices aren't connected. And for a while, yours said the same thing.
Can you hear me now? Because I can hear everyone just fine.
Yours is fine. But initially, when you were coming up backstage, it said the same thing Renee said. And did you do anything special that you normally do?
No.
Renee, sign off and then come back on again, okay? Okay, she signed off. Okay. Woo, y'all, listen. This is live, people. This is a live show. Thank goodness.
Well, thank you for providing us with a forum.
This is crazy. But listen, today, the Supreme Court, guys, the Supreme Court. I do not believe that Trump deserves any immunity from nothing. However, unfortunately, our lawyer isn't with us today. Something must have happened, because it's not like Narissa not to show up. But she was excited about this issue, and she was debating me earlier this week and said, Pam, they need to take up this case so that we're not doing this state by state crap. And I saw her point on that. But the problem is look at our court. Look at how our court is made up.
Well, here's the thing. I think that when the Supreme Court is under a lot of pressure right now. a lot of political pressure to clean up the ethics. We've had, the issues with Clarence Thomas, how the last, three judges got on there. So they know that there's a lot of political pressure to expand this court.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think that Roberts, was upset with how far they went with the abortion issue.
Yeah.
That's gonna, come back to him. Mm-hmm. So I think that, this SCOTUS, I think that they realize they need to be very careful about what they're saying. And even when I was listening live to those arguments on the immunity case, and I was hearing who asked what questions, right?
Yes.
And how hard they came, right?
Yes.
And so obviously, Clarence Thomas shouldn't even be in there participating. He shouldn't even be in there participating.
He should be recused, period, point blank, period. What say you, Mary?
I agree 100%. What's he doing there? If they want to be so careful, and if ethics are such a concern, why don't they sit his behind down? I mean, he needs to be sat down. And why? I just don't even understand it.
You know what? I'm sure, especially some of the ladies had a conversation with him, but at the end of the day, it's his decision to recuse or not. They can't force him to.
But we need to check.
Okay, so not to cut you off, but okay, if they can't force him, exactly why is John Roberts the Chief Justice? I would like to think that title has some weight.
Right. I do too. It should not be. And see, that's what I learned, that they have all of this power, their power. I think that the founding fathers got the Supreme Court situation wrong.
Well, what it is, they simply did not envision this. Like when they were coming together back in the late 18th century, they did not envision this chaos that we all find ourselves in now. And speaking of chaos, as you know, recently New York scored a victory against Trump when the judge issued that judgment against him. Yes. I think he put down 100 million so far because the clock is ticking. He has 30 days.
Yes.
And those 30 days are going to be, I think the ruling was made February 23rd. So 30 days, that's only a couple of weeks. It's not even Easter.
He broke.
Yes,
the clock is ticking on that.
Well, he's got to, and the judge allowed him to get a loan, right, to pay that. So this is
loan him money.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, the judge, because he couldn't come up with the full amount, so the judge said he did not reduce it, so he was trying to get a reduction, right? And the judge said, no, we're not going to reduce it, but I'm going to give you the 30 days to get a loan. If you can get a loan to cover it, because otherwise he's not going to be able to go and appeal it without putting down the full amount, the full deposit, like the minimum amount to appeal it. He won't be able to appeal it, and that's what it'll be. So that's going to be a big chunk that will undermine him. And I think that's why we have him looking at, all of a sudden you're seeing him in videos and pictures with Greg Abbott. When he's come across, he's made it very, very clear that he doesn't want to take any pictures with anybody that's disabled. He would not take pictures with veterans that have any kind of deformity or anything, because he sees that shows weakness. So all of a sudden you're seeing him with Abbott, because Abbott has a huge war chest. So he's talking about Abbott, considering Abbott for a VP. He would have never done that, but he needs that money, honey. That's why. That's why.
Abbott has something he doesn't. Money. That is correct.
That's the only reason.
And Texas.
And Texas is a huge state. So he's banking on Abbott having all this support. But right now, people in Texas are pissed off at Abbott and Paxton. So the whole, if we were upset with, because the whole lawsuit was Paxton firing these whistleblowers for saying he was using his office, to help a particular friend. So that's corruption, right? So he fired these whistleblowers. So there was a $3.3 million settlement, and taxpayers are like, we shouldn't have to pay the settlement because,
we didn't do anything wrong.
Well, now it's not going to settlement anymore. It's going to be a judgment. It's going to be a $10 to $12 million judgment, easy. So if we were pissed off about a 3.3 settlement, we sure the heck ain't going to like a 10 or $12 million judgment. So that's what happened, is that after the impeachment, where in the Senate, Paxton's argument was, well, the House treated me unfairly. They didn't let me speak, and so the whole process was broken. So you shouldn't impeach me. And so the Senate agreed with that. They let him go. And then as soon as that happened, he told the judge in the case he's trying to avoid submitting to deposition.
Mm.
And so he said, I'm not going to dispute the charges. Go ahead, judge, whatever you want to, so he's not fighting the charges. And so now the senators that cleared him are like, what? He said he didn't get a chance to speak on this. There's no proof. This isn't true. And now he's basically saying, nolo contendere. I'm not going to argue it. I'm not going to say that it's not true. And so this is going to be a huge, but the judge said, you still got to submit to deposition. That's why he's saying he's not arguing, because he don't want to submit to deposition. And they're not letting him off the hook. They're like, no, you're going under deposition. So we're still waiting to see what happens with that. But that's going to be a judgment that is far greater than what the settlement would have been. So taxpayers are not going to be happy with that. And taxpayers are really not happy with the whole voucher thing. He's really trying to shove vouchers down Texans' throats. And the Republicans are not accepting it. The Democrats aren't accepting it, and the Republicans aren't accepting it. It's only the people. The only thing that you see on social media is it's the charter schools and the voucher that want it. And so it's a lot of the churches
The
that
money.
they want the money.
Mhm.
So that is dividing us.
Okay, guys, let's get our subject back to on task as best we can with this whole Supreme Court situation. So, gosh, I almost forgot where I was. So,
The immunity case. We were talking about Trump's immunity case.
yeah, we talked about Trump's immunity case and what have you. We've kind of like beat that to death almost. Mary, did you have any comments about it, or Latrice?
I have one question about it.
Please.
Why do Republicans think that they can investigate President Biden if they claim that the president has total immunity?
That's a great point.
And so Latrice, you have any points on that?
I share her view, but the short answer to that question is hypocrisy. That's the short answer to that. But it's a very valid question, and it's something I've often wondered about myself.
Yeah, it's so. Listen, this chat is jumping like crazy. It is so. Listen, tonight is wild. Ellen Slater Munguia. Why do Democrats have to run Biden? I know he's the incumbent, but he doesn't excite people. Whatever happened to Kamala Harris running?
I would like to answer that question.
Okay.
And I hate to answer the question with a question, but when I hear people talk about Biden, how he should step aside, okay, who do you want to see run in his place? And mind you, I'm not crazy about Biden either. I've said on the show before, if this coming November turns out to be a replay of 2020, I'll vote for Biden. I stand by that. Mm-hmm. However, that's not the flex that the Democratic Party thinks it is. And so the question then becomes, well, who would we run in his place? As I've mentioned again on the show before, I don't want to see Harris fail, but if Biden were to step aside right now and say, Kamala, you take over the top of the ticket, do I think she can get us across the finish line? I hope so, but I cannot say that's a given. Yeah. So I think in terms of Kamala running, I think she's biding her time till 2028 if she decides to run again.
Yeah. Let's see. Hold on here. Candidate running for Congress in Texas. What's your position on the border? Now that's all. I'm going to do a whole show about immigration because it's so complicated. It is so complicated, and yet I don't understand why we had a halfway of a deal. What's up with that? Pathway and work permits or deportation. I'm a Dem running for Congress in Indiana. Oh, we got another candidate in office. Okay. But I believe in shutting it down right now, Ruth Ann Torres. Okay, you believe in shutting it down right now. I'm trying to figure out why is everybody wanting to come over here when we got a clown running for. I mean,
so what happens is
America does not look like it used to look. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's what's happening is that we're having a lot of people come. It's not just Mexico. They're coming in from Venezuela. They're coming in from Cuba and Haiti. They're just coming via Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I saw a bunch of Chinese.
Yeah.
Chinese, African,
And
Haitian, Cuban.
I was very confused by that. I was very, 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 very.
Well, I have a theory on that. I
What
mean,
is-
think about the countries that Ruth Ann just named: Venezuela, countries in Africa, the Middle East. These are countries that have experienced political instability,
Yeah,
which we, the U.S., have had a hand in. You know,
yeah,
whether it's propping up dictators or, you know, just exploiting their natural resources, what have you. So I think what it is a lot of these immigrants, migrants, whatever you want to call them, they've been coming to the States because they've been sold this fantasy that we're the land of milk and honey. And then they get here and they realize, no, we're not the land of milk and honey. We're the land of struggle, just like everything else.
I
It's just
know.
that our struggle's not their struggle.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's better than what they had, right? And so I will tell you that there are abuses here, right? So I'm in Texas, but I grew up in Miami. So Haitians and Cubans were treated very differently in Miami. There was a wet foot, dry foot policy. There was policies that changed under Obama that pissed off a lot of Cubans. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they used to come here and they would get housing, they would get so much money, they would get, all of this benefits, right? And so that's what happens. So we need immigration reform, so that it's not being, people will do what you allow them to get away with, right? And so we have abuses here. We have people who are saying, hey, I'm running for my life, and we give them housing, we give them benefits that Americans don't have access to, and that's not okay. But it's also not okay to make it a dangerous trip even more lethal, and put more situations in saws and razor wire so people drown and die in the river. So I am for a reform policy that treats people humanely. I'm not into this dehumanizing people, calling them illegal. People are not illegal. They may enter a process, but you got to understand that you have a lot of people that wait for a legitimate green card 15 years. These people don't have 15 years to survive. So you're literally running for your life. That's why people risk their life coming across the river. Listen, I'm not going to say that people coming across are agents. The vast majority of criminal activity and drug smuggling that happens at the border is by Americans. It's not by immigrants. So let's not.
I think what Pierre is saying is something that was reported on the news, that they were suspect of it was such a large number of Chinese immigrants, and they were confused as to, because that isn't the normal way in which they come. So I think that's what he's trying to express.
Yeah, we see a pattern where people are coming through the Mexico border, and so everybody's like, hey, that's the way I can come through. And so we need to have a process that has people going through the process in their home country, so that if they have a legitimate reason to come. But more than that, we need to deal with why they're coming, and that is the political unrest and the poverty. And the U.S. has a hand in that, as the other guest here mentioned. We are sending billions of dollars every year to other countries, and the vast majority of that money is going to the politicians there. They're pocketing it, and they're exploiting that. If we're sending any resources, it should be American companies with a contract that goes over there to build businesses, provide job readiness programs, language programs, so that they're in their home country and they have that stability. But we have the political unrest in all these countries, and we are all a country of immigrants. Unless you're a Native American, well, I know. I mean, I'm not gonna say we're all immigrants, or we're brought here as slaves, or the descendants of slaves and immigrants. Okay, so we weren't slave. Those who came under slavery were not immigrants. That was slavery. But I just want us to treat people humanely.
Yes.
Process makes sense. Let's stop spending all this money at the border and these political games to bus people. And I look at that as what Abbott is doing in busing people. He's sending hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars to build infrastructure and process so that in the event Trump wins, that's going to be there to collect people, to load the buses, to send them to the border, or to send them to work camps. Let me tell you something. There's a whole lot of businesses that they're not going to be okay if they do start picking up all these immigrants and transport them, because when you're talking about the food processing systems, picking up that's not going to happen. Construction, taking care of grandma, taking care of the kids. It's all these immigrants. They're not going to be laying floors and doing bathrooms. So what are you going to end up having? You're going to have them in work camp. So this is going to be Holocaust 2.0. And don't wait until the buses are coming up to your neighborhood.
Yeah. Listen. Okay. Okay. Now let's get back to the. Today has been an unusual day. We're all over the place. Listen. What about what happened in Alabama the other week or so? Alabama Supreme Court, ladies. Alabama Supreme Court, they ruled that an embryo is a baby. But yeah, well, anyway, I'm not going to get into the biology stuff. But the thing that we're concerned about with this whole case is that we know where this is headed. Inevitably, somebody is going to take it to the Supreme Court and say, okay, Supreme Court, you figure it out or whatever. And I was just reading about all of the 50 million things that are on the dockets right now for the Supreme Court, including mostly everything dealing with Trump. So, and then I saw a couple that was trying to get their embryos transported to another state. But the problem in that, because of all of the liability involved in transporting something so fragile in the process.
And they'll be charged with murder if something happens to that.
Right. So, Mary,
Yeah.
So Ruth, I'm going to let somebody else talk.
Yeah.
So Mary, let's hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, where to start, right? I mean, is a caterpillar a butterfly? It doesn't even make sense what they've done. It doesn't make sense. But we know that they wanted a case like this to go to the Supreme Court because they have all of these, I don't even know what to call them, these corrupt justices at the Supreme Court, essentially. And so we knew it wasn't going to stop at Roe. And I think the mistake that they've made, in overturning Roe, they didn't realize that empowers Democrats quite a bit. And they also didn't realize that a lot of conservative, super conservative people who normally vote for Republicans also use IVF. I don't think they were counting on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know what the final answer on that is, other than they've just really disrupted a whole industry, and the fact that it seems like nowadays, because women are choosing to have children later in life, so many people are needing, literally needing extra help to become pregnant. Now I can say,
and not just that, but IVF is not exactly cheap either. That's something that's only accessible to the middle upper class.
Yeah, now that is very true, because a lot of health insurance plans do not cover that. And I just hate that Renee is not on this, because Renee, I know for a fact, I believe she used IVF, and that's how she got her triplets. And I tried to make the show, and I can't get her on. I can't get her on stage. It keeps saying, it just won't connect. I hate that, because I know that she would have something important to add to that discussion. At any rate, have any of you guys had any experience with IVF?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I was hoping that she would, but at any rate, so listen, I have this hypothesis about why all of these handmade type of laws are trying to come into effect. Okay, they want us, they were talking about banning contraception too, at least certain forms of contraception and what have you. They're trying to go all out, right? And everything is sort of like wanting to take us back to the 1940s and whatnot. And so my theory has been, and I've heard other people discuss it too, is the great replacement theory. That because that the America is browning, it's becoming, the minority is becoming the majority. Let's see, statistically, it's a fact that sometime between 2041 and 2046, depending on the net immigration, Pierre, this net immigration into the United States, you'll have the minority will be the majority even quicker than that, maybe even as early as 2040. So with that said, they're trying to do things because white women just aren't having babies like they used to. I mean, because more and more, we people just aren't. Black professional women are having babies much later as well. And that's been increasing that whole issue with the IVF issues, because it's a whole lot easier to get pregnant like in your 20s, like I did, than when you're later along or whatnot. So what do you guys think about that, about the great replacement theory? And that's why we see so much tension and so much craziness in some of these laws. Latrice?
I don't think it's so much of a replacement. It's about power and control. Like if the patriarchy can control a woman's body, then they can control her agency. They remove that sense of agency from herself. I don't think it's so much about replace. I mean, I understand why some people would think that, but I think it's more about power and control, because my thing is, when I look at a lot of these guys, it's like, how are you going to tell me how to, what to do with my uterus, and you can't even identify a clitoris? And I'm not saying that to be a smart aleck, but it's like, you can't even identify a clitoris, and yet you want to tell me what to do with my uterus. That makes sense.
That part.
Make it make sense. Help me help you here.
Mic drop moment. Wait.
I'm just saying.
Oh,
I've always been the mindset, not just with reproductive rights, but I've always been of the mindset, if you're living your life and doing your thing, you don't have time to hate. You don't have time to worry about what the next person's doing. In terms of women, having children later in life or not having them at all, as is going to be the case with me, I've always known for myself that motherhood wasn't a priority. Like, motherhood isn't for everyone. Parenthood isn't for everyone.
late.
So I just feel like the fact that they're obsessed with that, to me, it's about power and control. And once again, they're telling on themselves.
Yeah.
I would agree I would agree with you, but I would add to that, there is, I think, fear. I think old white men are afraid if black and brown folks, when black and brown folks outnumber them, that maybe they'll be treated the way they treated them.
Yeah. And I think that's the fear, but I can tell you that ain't nobody worried. Nobody wants to do that.
Exactly. We're not even thinking about that.
No, because
that level, to behave at that level takes a level of energy that is just exhausting.
Exactly. Thank you. That's why we hate the angry black women trope. At least I do. I won't speak for all black women, but I hate it because to hate someone is mentally, emotionally, physically draining. It is exhausting. And I only get 24 hours in a day. I have better things to do with my time. And even if I didn't have better things to do with my time, how does hating you help me get to liberation? Because that's what I'm about.
Right. And I'm all about the peace and the love, and just let me live my life. I'm not
exactly. You do you, however you choose to define you. Just don't try to tell me how to do me.
Exactly. We're not trying. I do not want to step on it. I want you to have a nice life. How you doing? See you later. Arrivederci, whatever. Hey, it's cool. It's cool. Isn't it cool, Ruth?
Well,
It's so cool.
So I have to have these conversations, right, in my community in Texas, and the buckle of the Bible belt here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like legitimately their fear. Like legitimately, they are terrified, and that's why I say his panic, and I put the capital P in panic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's this huge panic of the minority majority, and this fear of losing control, losing power, right? And that we got too smart. And that's why we gotta privatize education, because too many of y'all got your education, and women and people of color, y'all don't know your place anymore, and you want positions in office, and you want to get paid more, and you guys are forgetting your place. So we got to help you out and put you in your place. And so these are legitimate fears. And so when I go there, they're like, hey, we're not going to elect you because you're going to let everybody in. And they look like you're going to let everybody in, and this. And I'm like, I'm sorry that you think that I'm your enemy. I'm your sister in Christ. I look at you as family.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? And so while we have differences, while they're getting you focused on division, I'm going to tell you about unity. They want you to pay attention to all this rhetoric and hatred and division while they're robbing you. They're robbing you. They're robbing your children. They want to privatize public ed because it's $1 trillion public land grab in every single county across this state and across this country. It's about the money. It's about returning us to the times when we were segregated and unequal. And if you think that that's more profitable for you, I want you to go read the book, The Price of Inequity, by a Nobel Prize winning economist named Joseph Stiglitz. It's called The Price of Inequality. So, when people say to me, oh, you're part of the replacement, I'm like, listen, my mother was white from Kentucky. Yeehaw. Okay. Grew to back down yonder in Louisburg, Kentucky. Okay. My mother was as white, blonde hair, and hazel eyes. And my father's a black Puerto Rican. So I'm like all of them mixed together. I'm coffee with lots of milk. And if you have anybody that has a problem with people of different race, I want you to understand your problem isn't with me, it's with our mutual creator. And everybody who thinks that you're afraid of DEI, everyone who is afraid of the majority minority should want DEI, should be begging for DEI, because it is the policies that you put in place now that your children and your grandchildren will be living under.
Right.
In quick order.
Right. That's right.
They're going to be the minority. So you should want DEI. You should want that. You should want this stuff now, because otherwise you need to be. Do you guys remember a movie called White Man's Burden with Harry Belafonte and John Travolta?
I can't remember it, but I remember the title, but I can't remember the actual pieces of the movie per se.
So in that movie, from a social aspect, it was completely reversed. Black people were in control. White people were in poverty.
Okay.
So so if you haven't seen it, I want to encourage you to go up and see it. And it was ahead of its time, right? It really
on YouTube or anything, or is it on Tubi?
It should be free because it's a really old movie.
So maybe it's on Tubi or something, and maybe even on YouTube, because sometimes YouTube is like the Bible. You can get just about everything on there. Yeah, that sounds good. Now, you know what? Pierre was talking about Medicaid expansion. I'm proud to say I'm in the state of North Carolina, and we just got Medicaid expansion as of December 1st, 2023. But guess what's happening, y'all? With Medicaid expansion, we already, due to an influx of people moving into the state of North Carolina, we don't have enough physicians and specialists to deal with the influx. And so now with Medicaid expansion, it targets people ages 19 to 64 in the state of North Carolina that are within a certain economic band. And so while we're excited about the Medicaid expansion, the problem is the backlog of physicians. you being able to see somebody. That's it's just
well, one of the problems that is also with Medicare, Medicaid. Okay, here's a problem, right? A lot of times you can get in with a primary, but not with a specialist, because they'll say that it takes them so long to get paid and it's such a low amount that they only take a certain number. So they'll only, it might be once a month or twice a month where they'll see Medicare, Medicaid patients. And so therefore, that's why it's taking you 6-8 months to get into a specialist, because they're only taking a certain amount. And that should not be the case. If you're accepting,
go ahead.
So that should, then you're giving priority to private insurance. That's an unequal access to healthcare. So to me, you're either taking Medicare and Medicaid and you're not going to limit it, or you're not. And if there's a delay in the processing, then that needs to get fixed. That's fair enough. But it shouldn't be that you have people waiting months to get into a specialist because the doctors don't want to take the Medicare, Medicaid. And another issue that we have is, like, say, for example, you have, you'll see in Black and brown communities, you'll see a lot of dialysis centers, because they'll be on dialysis for years because they're not getting transplants.
Yeah.
So you see a disparity, that racial disparity in that way. It's like, no. And even getting specialists, they're not in your neighborhood. You gotta, like, here I'm in Dallas, I want a specialist, I'm gonna have to drive 35 to 40 minutes each way, because there's no specialists in my community. There's no real doctors in my community.
But see here, but to that point about the specialists only wanting to take so many Medicaid patients, what have you, that's the issue. Plus, like I'm saying, when you have an area that's gotten popular like ours, you just don't have. And I live in the city of medicine. I live in where Duke University is, and we have specialists all over the place. The problem is, and literally the eye doctor that I go to, bless his heart for helping me, he does surgery for people all over the world. People fly in from all over he's a retina specialist, and it's just amazing. We're fortunate in that way, and yet if you get an influx of people into an area, you only got so many to go around to so many people. So at any rate, this thing with Loretta Thomas Walker saying about Republicans want the 1700s. Yeah, they want us way back. They want us in those big, they literally do want us in Handmaid's Tale. And I've never even watched that show, but I know enough to know what they're talking about. That's for sure. And we're not going back. We are not going back. I dare say we are not ever going back. Not ever.
I hear the people saying, the Archie Bunker stuff, right? To me, that was like the Archie Bunker show, right? When men were men. Right?
But you know what? Archie Bunker was our favorite bigot because he was so, it was so hilarious. We could laugh at, you know what I mean, Mary? It was a time where you could laugh at the foolishness and learn from it all at the same time.
Yep.
We had that kind of relationship that we could laugh at the sheer stupidity of what people were saying and doing.
But that show was ahead of its time. It missed the point. That the people that want that, you missed the point. The point was we were all in the family.
Yes.
It was ahead of its time. And he turned around, the same guy turned around and had In the Heat of the Night, where he's kissing the black woman who was on the city council. You guys remember that? So
I didn't see the kiss.
Neither.
That, you know what, though, I don't see many sitcom type of shows these days. And I really miss that kind of writing, that in-depth thinking and things juxtaposed to, the way life is now and that type of thing. I miss that kind of entertainment. I really do. I really, really do. Yep. Oh, you were talking about citizens. Let's see. Poor Renee. Renee keeps trying to get in, and she, poor thing. Renee, you know what? I don't know. I've never done a call-in before. It's all with this thing.
Are you limited by the number of panelists you can have?
Only by 10, so I'm
Okay.
fine. I could have that many. Yeah, it's just the strangest thing. It's something on her end, I think,
Yeah.
settings, because initially Latrice, when she came up, it did the same thing. And oh, Zach says, I think they ended up getting married on the heat of the night. I see we got some TV buffs in the room here. Definitely, definitely. So listen, how was your campaign going, Ruth? How is it going?
Uh, fundraising is my biggest challenge right now. So
Uh-huh.
I need to get fundraising going. I think, there's a lot of chaos right now in the primary, and there's a lot of folks funneling money into those who have primary opponents, where they're looking at me like, hey, you don't have a primary opponent, we'll deal with you after the primary, right? So I'm hoping that's the case. Money starts coming in at that point.
Mhm.
But I do need the money coming in so that I can lay the infrastructure and have the software, the data, and have everything lined up to hit.
Mhm.
There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to be done. And of course, the maps are very gerrymandered. The point is, like, Dallas County is the second most populous county in the state. It has
Mhm.
congressional districts coming through it. Hispanics are 45% of the vote, but they
Wow.
have it gerrymandered so that there's no more than like 22% in each district, right? And
Wow.
Hispanics are so what Hispanics are going through in Texas is what blacks went through in the civil rights era. This being very marginalized, very oppressed, and Abbott has everybody living in fear. So even if those are eligible to vote, they don't vote because they don't want to bring any attention to their household, because there may be somebody in their house who may
Mhm.
be there. But there's just a great deal of fear now. This new law that's passed where the police can stop you if they look at you and think
Mhm.
that you don't belong here.
Yeah,
Matter.
I was reading about that today.
Yeah, they're going to deport you. They're going to take you to the border, and then it's your problem to get back home,
Yeah.
right? So these show me your papers law. It's the because they're feeling the fear. It is their objective to displace that fear onto people so
Mhm.
that they live in fear, and so people really live in fear. A friend of mine, she works for the insurance company. There was a busload of kids. The bus like had an accident, went on fire. A bunch of these kids died.
Mm.
So the school district said pay every family member the maximum, right?
Mhm.
So they went to try and find these parents to pay them.
Mm.
And you know what they did? They moved. Their kid died. And this was multiple parents. So the parents of kids who died and the parents were undocumented,
Mm.
they moved. They moved within 48 hours of their
They're
kid dying.
afraid. Mm-hmm.
So Americans, we go for the lawyer, right? We're going to fight for our kid. They're not only dealing with the death, and these were all elementary kids. Not only are they dealing with the death of their child, now they got to hurry up and move because they're afraid that they're going to
Mhm.
come in and their parents, some family member is going to get deported, and they're going to try and keep the rest of their family together. Can you comprehend that
No.
level of fear that they're living in?
I
No.
couldn't. I can't. I can't. And Pierre, I'm gonna have to have you on because you see that the scroll that's going on the screen about how to get in touch with me to be a guest. I gotta, I saw your policy on gun control with common sense and not banning assault rifles, list weapons. Me and you gonna have an argument on my show when you come on about that. I can't get with you on those assault weapons, period.
Nope.
There's no
Nope.
need for them at
Nope.
all.
Nope.
What is the point? You can't even hunt with them. You
Mm-mm.
cannot hunt with them. So what is the point?
They're
You
weapons of war.
they're
Mhm.
weapons of war, and you don't need to bring a weapon of war
Yeah.
to America for what? We
No.
don't need to do that.
No.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you real quickly, Ruth, your relationship with the DNC. Is Jamie Harrison or anyone on that level, are they engaged with your campaign? I know you said they've been, putting things off till after the primary, but, what is your relationship with them like? Have they been helpful in any way, shape, or form?
Not yet. Not yet. So there's 6 counties in my district. I am going to the state convention is March 23rd. Then I'll be, no, that's the so I'll be going to the conventions. And I want to see. I don't think, like I said, the focus has been so much on the primary. Oh, I'm sorry, the other dog came in. I have to pick up my old man.
Oh, he's cute. We love dogs.
Okay, this is Chase Trouble. He's 18 years old. He's the only man that can hang with me this long. So this is Chase Trouble. But you can come get her. Another larger dog came in, so I know that she always wants to come and visit him, and he's like,
oh my goodness.
So I had to pick him up and save him. But I am hoping that I requested a meeting with the chair of Dallas, because if I can get Dallas and Kaufman County to get up and vote, we're going to flip this seat, and then it will be a big help to flip out Ted Cruz as well. But I am hoping that after the primaries, I'll start to get some support where people really say, hey, you know what? Let's help Ruth. Let's give it a shot to unseat this MAGA fool out of CD5.
Well, are you also working? I think Cruz's opponent is a guy named John Allman or something like that.
No, Colin Allred.
Oh, Colin Allred. Okay, I stand corrected. Because I get emails from time to time. Like, how is he doing? Is he garnering any support?
So right now there's a big battle for that seat against Ted Cruz. It's there are 4. I think there's at least 4 people in that race. The 2 leading ones are Colin Allred and Roland Gutierrez. They're spending millions fighting each other. The same thing in CD32, the seat that Colin Allred gave up to run against Ted Cruz. So there are millions of dollars being spent with Democrats fighting Democrats. And I hate it because I'm like, can we just get united so we can fight the Republican? Whoever wins out, and we're gonna, we'll see what happens if we can avoid a runoff in that seat, because we're spending a lot of money when we need to be putting that money to unseat Ted Cruz. Same thing in 32, but with CD 32, because the way it's cut, that was Colin Allred's district. Whoever wins the primary wins it in November. So they've spent probably between 4 and 5 million on CD 32 in the primary, right? Because they know they don't have to spend it for November.
Yeah.
But there's 10 people running in seat, which is neighbors meet. And so, we have the seat that Eddie Bernice Johnson gave up to Jasmine Crockett, and then EBJ died. So that's 30-32, and then 5 begins where those 2 districts end on the east side of Dallas County. So there's a lot going on right now in the primary. This is the most active primary Texas has had probably in 2 decades or more.
Wow, that's great.
Yes, Colin is a former NFL player, so he's well known. Roland Gutierrez, he only started getting attention because of the Uvalde murder, where all the 19 kids.
We can't ever forget that. My God, that is just. Have they torn down that school yet?
Yeah, well, they closed that school. The new school, I think the new school opens. I'm not sure if the new school is open, but they did build a brand new school, so that old school is never being used again. I'm hoping that we'll be like, if Colin wins, we'll be like Charlie's Angels, right? Me, Jasmine, and whoever, So, I'm looking at Zachary's comments, right? We'll get Tuesday's gonna be there's a lot of bated breath to see what happens Tuesday, and see if we end up having to have a runoff. A lot of these seats.
Yeah. What do you think about Jackson Lee running for her congressional seat? Is Jackson Lee in Dallas? Is she?
No, she's in Houston. But I was talking today. I was invited to a Bible study, so there's a group there, and I said, "Hey, listen, I believe in term limits. We need to have term limits. I'm a
Yeah.
human resource professional, and we
Yeah.
are feeling in the world of politics, business, even in the church.
Yeah.
We are messing up and not investing. And that's not to say that if you're in your 70s or 80s or 90s, that doesn't mean that you're useless. That just means like, hey, go enjoy your life. We need your wisdom. We need you doing the mentorship and the training and the development.
Right.
Let somebody else do those full-time jobs. Enjoy your life, but we need you. I'm not saying like go away, you're not important, but
I
let's have
agree. I
transition.
totally agree. Because I'm worried because we don't have, Mary and I were talking about this before we came on the show live. Was that Mary, what did you call that program? What were you calling it again?
For Run for Something?
No, yeah, you were talking about how they were.
Oh, like a farm team program that the Republicans have. They are curating their own people who are going to run from a very young age, and they make it fun and interesting. We have nothing like that.
Right, because my thing that I keep, and I've said this a million and one times on this show before, is that Maxine Waters, all of these great people, they're all in their 80s. They're fly and fabulous in their 80s. However, we need to have, where are there people underneath them that they are bringing up through the system to be up and out front and be the Truth Torreses and that type of people, and the Latrice Davises, because we're bound to get Latrice.
Nah, I value my sanity and my privacy way too much to ever run for office. I don't begrudge those who do it, and I wish you the best on that journey, Ruth. But I already know politics is not for me.
Well, that means you're the perfect one to run. That's what that means, right?
It's funny you say that because I am on the I am on the community board. I've been on the community board for 3 years now, and I see myself doing another term. I like it, but I don't know, man. I just like. It's like when you see how the sausage is made, it's kind of like, okay, do I really want to put myself through that?
That's the point. Listen, I didn't wake up. I'm 50 years old, and it's not like I was ever thinking about running for office. That wasn't the case at all. I just wanted to like make decent money and take care of my kids. But it became such chaos, and it's like, okay, we have to be the change we want to see.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's what motivated. That's what motivated me to join the community board. The pandemic and January 6th. Like again, like you said, like instead of waiting for somebody else to come along, it's like, okay, why don't I step up? And so far, I'm enjoying it. It's something I have the time and the ability to do it. I like it, but like again, like I've seen what comes with public office. I'm a huge fan of Michelle Obama. I read her book, Becoming, and we're both Capricorns. She's forever Flotus in my eyes, but I understand why she does not want to run for president. I totally get it.
I absolutely
get it.
She would win. She would win.
Listen, guys, we have come to the end of the road on a most eventful show, unlike any I've done before. We went way off all the subjects that are on the thumbnail. I tried to keep it back, but two of our guests weren't here. Ruth, I appreciate you pitch hitting, and I appreciate you, Latrice, always, because Latrice is always my ride or die. Mary, I appreciate you so much because it's early there in Portland, Oregon. Is it snowing out there? You guys having that?
We had a little snow. Yeah, It was a shock. Yeah.
Okay. And listen, I appreciate you guys. And Pierre Quincy Pullins, I'm glad that Renee invited you to come on to participate in the show, but poor thing, she couldn't get on. So maybe you can help her with her settings on her computer, because that's something that was something that happened to her. At any rate, guys, let's wave everybody. Good night.
Good night. Good night. Continue to stay safe.
Yes.